Welcome to a self-published author's diary. I am Elodie Novodatsky. I write about first times, second chances, things that scare the crap out of me, and things that make me laugh out loud. I'll be speaking with you and sharing my adventures in self-publishing, the behind the scenes of writing, and the business side of it. Hello, there's a thunderstorm brewing outside, but I am inside. I'm recording this on my phone, on the couch. Plato the dog, as is apparently usual every time I'm recording, is currently snoring next to me. Bobby, Voltaire the cat, is also sleeping. And I am about to chat with you or talk to you about bringing my next book to the French-speaking market. Before I start, I don't know if you've listened to last week's episode. It was about selling directly to my readers. And at the beginning of the episode, I talk about Kim's Convenience. And notably, New York Times article talking about the fact that the food in Kim's Convenience was quietly revolutionary because they do not go through any length to explain the reasoning behind the food. So some of it is comfort food, some of it is cultural in terms of this is something that a mother might make for their kids when she might be gone for a while or things like that. And I just wanted to say that, or to add that Jen Yoon, the actress who plays Umma on Kim's Convenience, has chimed in on the entire discussion with her own experience, saying that it was a difficult experience. And that, for example, when it comes to the food, she is the one who made sure, especially during the first 4 seasons, when they didn't have a cultural consultant, because they had a cultural consultant that was hired in season 5 at the cast's urging, and she was very helpful. And otherwise, she had been the one who corrected or gave input on the food, because otherwise that bit may have actually been not as research and not as authentic. I just wanted to add that because I had mentioned last week about, how the food played a big role in the show, and now finding out that the actress who played Umma had a big role in making sure that this was actually authentic. So today I am explaining the steps I'm taking to bring The Leftover Bride to French-speaking readers and what I've learned about my own data points over the years when it comes to the French-speaking market. I'm also talking about making progress in my revision of The Leftover Bride, which again comes out on August 18th, and it's already available for pre-order for only 99 cents on all e-retailers. So I've started selling translations of my novels in French. So the French editions of my novel, I started in March 2016 with the French version of A Summer Like No Other and N'était pas comme les autres. Since then, I have sold more than 9,000 copies of my French books, not counting the ones that I have sold through the French publisher who published print versions of 3 of my books, and the pages read when my books were in Kindle Select, Kindle Unlimited in France. I did put some of my books in Kindle Unlimited for a limited period of time. Some are actually in KU right now, but I will pull them out from KU so that all my books are white when the new one releases. When it comes to pages read in KU for the French editions of my books, I've had about 450,000 pages read. I've also been contacted by Amazon several times to put my books in some of their promos in France, even when my books were available widely, because they were doing so well. As I mentioned, I also got contacted by a French publisher because my books were doing so well in France. And not only on Amazon, they were doing great on Apple and Kobo and Google Play. So I price my French ebooks between €2.99 and €5.99 unless I have sales or they've been out for a while. I'm actually thinking about putting Un N'était pas comme les autres for free, like on perma free, to try to have more readers for it and to get more readers to get to know my work and buy the second book, always second best in French, is called Une Seconde Chance. So, and the reason why my books are not like when I'm going to put The Leftover Bride for pre-order in French, I am not going to put it at 99 cents for the pre-order. And the reason why is because I spend money on translating and advertising. It is more expensive for me to release a book in French than it is to release a book in English. Because again, I write in English, I don't write in French, so I need to hire a translator. I also do not translate my own books for many reasons. So, but again, France for me, or more broadly, the French-speaking market is a lucrative market, and also a market where I think I have figured out how to do Facebook ads, and a market where I have received many messages from readers. And it's also very close to my heart, since, I happen to be French. So as I've explained in the past episode, there was one time where I lost readers because I had to cancel a pre-order, as my translator at the time kind of ghosted me. Again, I hope she's okay. I wasn't able to find any information about her, like what she's up to, despite the fact that we had been working together on 3 other books and she never got back to me. I don't know what happened. And again, I just hope she's okay. So it was at the time that Amazon did not let you push your pre-order back. So they just canceled my pre-order and I lost all the pre-orders that I had, which was a financial disaster for me at the time. Because doing follow-up at that time, and by financial disaster, I mean that, I'm paying for the translation and I need those pre-orders to get the buzz going and more people discovering my books. And then when the pre-order doesn't work, not everybody will pre-order it again. I think maybe some people might also be more worried about pre-ordering my book after they got a cancellation for one of them. And at the time, I was not, doing a lot of follow-up because I had just started treatment for Hodgkin's lymphoma back in 2017. And that book came out, that French book I mentioned came out in January, at the end, January 2018. But it was supposed to come out in November or December 2017. So I had a system in place, about milestones, like I make sure that the translator is working on the book as it goes and through milestones, and then I pay for the full book at the end, but I also pay throughout the translation. But I was not able to follow up as much as I normally do, and when it came time to really get, I think, the final file, I just didn't hear from her. With Upwork, I was able to get some of the money back, but I didn't ask for the money back that she had already translated. Like, I was not going to try to get the money for some work that she had done. It was just for one of the last milestones where I did not get the material that I was supposed to get delivered. And I was able to find another translator who finished the translation pretty quickly and was also very good, but delayed everything. So I'm about to put up on this very great experience. I still, of course, continue to translate my English books into French, and I'm about to put up the French version of The Leftover Bride for pre-order on all e-retailers. And I'm going to share with you the steps I've taken so far and the job posting that I posted on Upwork. You might find that interesting. You might get a few ideas if you do happen to want to post a job on Upwork or anywhere else, or if you hear from, mouth to word to mouth. If you hear about a translator in one of your authors groups who is very good and not necessarily super duper expensive, I mean, it can be also a possibility for you to find somebody that way. Since I speak French, I trust my ability to see if somebody would be a good fit for my books or not. So quick background and market information. A large percentage of the readers who read the French editions of my books are indeed located in France, but I can tell you that on Google Play only, I have sold down more than 100 books to countries such as Switzerland and Belgium and Canada and Hong Kong of my French editions. In addition, my Apple sales of those books also come from many different countries. They do not necessarily only come from France. I have a bit about something I found when I was doing research that, according to publishingperspective.com, the publishers, it's in France, it's usually the publishers who traditionally represent their authors' works and sell rights rather than agents. However, there is a growing number of literary agents in the country, and that's changing this dynamic. And I find that pretty interesting because part of my contracts with my French publisher, who published 3 of my novels, they had in the contract where they would be representing certain sales on my behalf. Like they would be representing sales on my behalf also for other languages and things, which is something that I negotiated with them not to do. Like I retained the rights for all my translations and I retained the rights for certain audiovisual parts and everything because I had already, like my books were already available in other languages. But it was at the beginning in the contract, which now that I think of it, well, even at the time I was kind of like, well, that's kind of interesting. But according to that, it's because some publishers represent their author's work and sell rights. So, yeah. But again, there are agents that are up and coming in France. I link to this article that also has a list of agents in France. If you're located in France and listening to this, or if you write in French and are looking for a French-speaking agent on my blog. I mean, of course, when you're trying to sell a translation, you could also try to get a foreign rights agent. Joanna Penn from The Creative Pen had an article about that a few years back. I'll look for it and I'll also link it. If you're also interested in the entire going international with your self-published books, recently she's had an author, a German author who lives in the US, who writes in English as well, talking about having her books translated and selling them in different markets. So I think she had also that on the podcast. So you can double check those 2 articles if you'd like. What I'm about to share with you is my experience going into the French-speaking market. It's kind of like a case study, if you will, because I'm pretty sure it's different depending from person to person. But from I don't have a big data point on authors who may have gone into Kindle Unlimited or versus people who are wide and all that things. I'm mostly wide in France, or French speaking rather. But I did, again, put sometimes my books in the equivalent of Kindle Unlimited in France. And on top of it, when it comes to the book markets, I have quite a few of my French readers who like to buy their paperback copies in stores. And so having the publisher really helped me get into the stores, get into the libraries, like into the grocery stores. Like, they were so cool. I saw my books in grocery stores. And when I was at the university in France, I used to be a cashier. I worked part-time as a cashier at Cora, which is a big chain of grocery store. And then you have like clothes in it. It's not a Target because they are definitely a lot more food. I'm trying to compare. It's just a very big supermarket, but also with things that a Target would sell. And I worked as a cashier there, as I said, part-time when I was going to the university in France. And my books actually were in Cora, for example. They were in Leclerc. They were in a lot of different places. And just saying that, I'm still smiling. So, I mean, it was awesome. But I know it's also feasible to maybe not be in the stores, but for readers to be able, like I was also at La Fnac. Okay, anyways, it's feasible for authors to have their books available in the like their paperback books available in the catalog of those stores like Cultura, La Fnac, and others, through third parties that are similar to Draft to Digital, like who also does print now. But I just double check. I have books that are available on Draft to Digital print, and they're not available in Cultura, for example, in France. So I want to double check some of those avenues to make my paperback available in widely. Because when I run Facebook ads, I've come across people who ask me, hey, I want to buy a paperback. Is it available anywhere else than Amazon in France? I've got that question several times. I need to look into that. I will research more and will circle back and let you know. Not in this episode, but in another one. So when it comes to ebooks, Amazon.fr, which is like Amazon France, is of course an important player, but it's not the only player. So I did a little bit of data analysis. Dear husband of mine, if you're listening to this, yes, I did data analysis, which I really need to do more often. It's one of the things I need to work more on. I know. So if I look at where do I sell the French editions of my ebooks, like what stores, what e-retailers are the retailers or the e-retailers where I sell most of my ebooks. So Amazon is 65%. 65% of my ebooks are sold through Amazon.fr. Then I have 16% on Apple, 10% on Google Play, 9% on Kobo. That's 35% of my books are sold outside of Amazon.fr. So that's pretty, I think that's quite a bit. When it comes to the revenue channels for the French editions of my ebooks, it's 67% comes from Amazon.fr. And for that, I also added the Kindle Unlimited revenues, because it's hard to do, where do you sell your books when it's a unit that's being sold, unless I do like how many pages is one unit, but also like that changes, it's just more complicated. So for the revenues, I included when my books were in Kindle Select, Kindle Unlimited. And then in that case, it was 67% of the revenue came from Amazon. And then basically almost a third of my revenue came outside of Amazon. And once the market is even more, like at any level, a third of your revenue coming outside of Amazon for me is it's quite significant. And I again need to check, I think it's called Book Elise. There are more possibilities to get my books, in libraries and other places where physical books are sold, to see how much more revenue I can get that way. There are no all-star bonuses in Kindle Unlimited for France. Like there are Kindle Unlimited bonuses, if you're like one of the author who sells the most, or not who sells, but who has more pages read in certain countries, you get a bonus. It's called KDP Select All Stars. And you have KDP Select All Star bonuses by marketplace. And again, that's your book for that needs to be in KDP Select, which means in Kindle Unlimited. And this is each month they reward all-star bonuses to books and authors that are read the most in Kindle Unlimited. And the KDP Select All-Star bonus by marketplace is Amazon.com, Amazon.co.uk, and Amazon.de. There is no bonuses in the French marketplace. So I don't know if that means that it's not as like Kindle Unlimited is not as successful in France as it is in Germany. I had mentioned in the past that I remember they had to change their names because it's technically not unlimited. I think that was one of the things, because it's 10 books at a time, and then you have to return one to be able to get another one or something. Anyways, there were some legal issues there. So I don't know if that's why. I don't know if it's because I've read that French readers also do like to get their ebooks from like other e-retailers like La Fnac, Cultura, others. I don't know. But I'll keep on reading about it. I've read information both in French and in English about the French market for books, and it's very interesting. I mean, they're saying that there's still like quite a bit of progress that could be done, or like of market shares that could be taken by the ebooks, that it's maybe not growing as fast as what they thought. But romances, for example, usually do very well in France. So I'm crossing my fingers that The Leftover Bride, which is a romance and a rom-com, will get a lot of pre-orders and a lot of readers. So how am I going to get this book that I'm still revising onto the French-speaking market? Well, the first step is getting my summary and title translated to put it up for pre-order. So I contacted the translator of my latest books, Sophie Troff, who's amazing and talented and just wonderful. But she's currently very busy with other projects and very exciting projects, and I'm very happy for her. But that does mean I had to find someone to translate my book, including the summary and title. So I have been very, very lucky in the past to work with amazing translators over the years. Edith Girval, she translated The Summer Like No Other and Always Second Best. Anne-Sophie Bigot, who translated Love in B Minor and Fear Me Not, and Béranger Viau-Pinot, who translated Simi Simi Not, and Sophie Troff, who translated 1, 2, 3 and Trust Me Not. And I actually translated One Dream Only, the prequel novella to 1, 2, 3, but it had to be proofread by my brother-in-law, Pascal Trott, and my translator, Edith Girval. Hence why I do not translate my own books in French, because there's a lot of proofreading that needs to happen afterwards. And it takes a lot of time. So I'm planning the release of the French edition of The Leftover Bride end of November, right on time for the holiday season. And I have put up a project on Upwork and received more than a dozen proposals. The job was solely at this stage for the translation of the summary and title. I could have tried to use DeepL, which is DEEPL, and, translated it via the machine, and then I could have proofread it myself and then hired someone to proofread my proofread. But I kind of wanted someone to actually do the translation for that summary, and I figured this was time that I could be spending doing something else. So here's the job posting I wrote. I need a native French speaker, fluent or bilingual in English, to translate the book description and title, about 450 words, from English to French, European French. The title is The Leftover Bride, which I honestly have no idea how to translate or if I should change it in French. The book, I added that right now. The book is a rom-com. You need to be familiar with American movie references. For example, how would you translate Hallmark Channel for it to make sense in French? And the deadline is 72 hours after acceptance of the contract. I need someone who has experience translating, ideally experience translating novels, who is an avid reader and ideally loves watching rom-coms. The full novel will be available for translation beginning of August, and if you are available at that time and interested, you will get invited to the job. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. As part of the job screening process, I have 3 different questions. One is in French, actually 2 are in French. Quel est le dernier livre que vous avez lu? Which means, what is the last book you've read? And then another one is, quelle est votre expérience en traduction littéraire? Si vous n'avez pas d'expérience, expliquez-moi vos qualifications pour ce travail particulier. Which means, what is your experience in literary translation? If you do not have any experience, please explain your qualifications for this particular job. And then I have a question in English. What is the latest rom-com you have watched? So this one was an open project, meaning all of Upwork users could apply. For the actual novel, if the freelancer translator I have hired for this particular job isn't available or doesn't work for any other reasons, I will be sending invites to some of the translators who have replied to this particular job offer I had and were not selected, but I felt that their profile could fit. I look at their credentials, I look at their answers. Some of them have a lot of experience translating novels. Some of them do not, but are avid readers and are trained translators and want to get their foot into literary translations. I'm very happy that I found someone to work with for the summary, and it took me a couple of hours to find a translator. I invited a few, and as I said, I received proposals from other translators. For the full novel, I can either do a closed job posting, which is what I'm probably going to do for that one, which means that then I invite translators that I search through on Upwork and also people that I may, have interacted with for this particular job. Or I might do a translation test, meaning that they would have to translate 500 words, they would get paid for it. And then I would choose based on those 500 words who I would work with For this particular summary and title, I will pay about $35. The work itself is $30, but I usually add a bonus to make sure that I'm the one who pays the Upwork fee and not the freelancer. I also work as a freelancer. I was doing that before too, but now I also work as a freelancer on Upwork, and my hourly rate goes way down at the beginning because of the Upwork fee. So when it comes to the full book, I usually invest between $950 to $1,250 for translations, not counting bonuses that I do add pretty much as I go, again for the Upwork fee. And it depends on the length of the book. My novella and short story were much cheaper, of course. But what I do, if the book sells very well, I also offer a bonus to the translator. So in addition, for my French translations, I also add the name of the translator on the cover. And again, while I've been living out of France for almost half my life, I am French and I am fluent in French. My family, if you're listening to this, I am still fluent in French. I do make mistakes from time to time, and, they make fun of me. But I'm also able to ask my family and friends to double check certain sentences if I feel like they're not entirely working. I do not hire a proofreader for my French books. Once they're translated, I usually go through them and double check. But I do hire a proofreader for other languages, the ones that I don't speak. So what are the next steps for Plato is currently nesting? If you have a dog, does your dog do that? Like nest? He's currently making himself a little nest with his paws. Anyways, so once I have the summary and title, I will adjust the cover with the French version and will put it up for pre-order. When it comes to the pre-order, I need to keep in mind that I do hire a translator for this novel and need to ensure I price it so that I start getting my money back with the first book. For some of my books, I recouped my investment with the pre-orders. It hasn't happened that I recouped the pre-orders, like my investment, with my latest books. It came later. And I do think, again, that having had this pre-order that got canceled may have played a role in that. So I will keep you updated also on what I need to do afterwards for this particular version of The Leftover Bride, both for the ebook and the paperback, as I check into Book Alice and find ways to have the paperback version available on websites such as Cultura, La Fnac, and the libraries and bookstores and everything. If you have any questions about the entire process, do not hesitate to let me know. You can email me at author@elodinovodatsky@gmail.com. It's spelled NOWOD as dog AZKIJ. You can also go on my website, www.elodinovodatsky.com. Leave a comment on the latest blog post or any blog post, and I will answer your question. You can also, of course, leave a voicemail. There's a link in the profile for you to do that. There's a link in the show's description for you to do that. And now a short message from our sponsor. Stay tuned. After, you'll be hearing about the struggles and smiles of my week as a self-published author. All right. Now, what did I struggle with and what made me smile this week in terms of writing and publishing and self-publishing? So I struggled with formatting. I'm formatting a new bilingual book, the second part of the Always Second Best Eine Zweite Chance bilingual edition, English-German. And for some reason, some of the Word document gets all wonky for no particular reason. Like the font changes and the heading doesn't take, it's not showing up in the navigation panel, or I need to change some of the formatting. It's frustrating. I'm almost done with it, but it was frustrating. And I have no idea why. I think it's maybe because the fonts in the document itself may be different than the regular documents. I don't know. I also need to find a new system to save my files because I did spend 20 minutes working on one document yesterday before realizing that it was not the latest one that I had saved. So I was also frustrating, but kind of my own fault. And that's going to be one of my projects. I know I'm not the only one. I cannot be the only one. who has documents with the names final, final 2, final updated 3, final 2, and then some with dates. Sometimes I have some with dates, which is how we used to save documents where I used to work. Sometimes we would have dates, and then you could add different version, and then the latest version would be the one, you didn't have different documents, they would just all be saved as version. But it's not the case when I'm saving a document and just renaming it. They're not all just going under, as the latest version. It doesn't work that way. So I have to find something to organize my files on my computer. Why did I smile? Well, I have a few reasons. I am making great progress in my revision. I sent an excerpt to both my critic partners that got their seal of approval. I mean, I've sent more than one excerpt. We send excerpts almost every day. But this one, they said that was maybe one of their favorites. And I'm only going to share the beginning of it with you. I'm sharing the full excerpts with my newsletter subscribers. So if you want to get more info about The Leftover Bride and you like rom-coms and romance novels, and you can always join my newsletter for readers, and the link is in this show's description. But here's the excerpt. He watches me. I resist the urge to readjust my Santa hat and to ask him what else might be on his wish list and whether he's been naughty or nice. Again, there's more to this excerpt, and it's sent to my newsletter subscribers. And I have a cover. Well, I will have a cover. And I have a cover. So I worked on the second cover for The Leftover Bride. I have 2 covers that my readers can choose from. And if you are signed up to receive my readers newsletter, you should have gotten an email in your inbox on Friday, June 11th to help me choose the cover during the day. I don't think I'm sending it early in the morning, or that I sent it by the time you listen to this. I will be sharing the cover on the blog very, very soon. And for the second cover, which is technically the first cover in the email that I sent, I had a tailored illustration of Ryan and Sorka designed by the team at Camber Emporium. And I did do a video of putting it together, but it started taking way too long because I didn't have the right background. So I do have a video of recreating the cover, which I will share too, and a much longer video trying to get the right background, which I might do something with, but I ended up it was just taking way too long. I also found the font that I think I'm going to use for this series of standalones, depending on the cover that my readers are choosing. It's really pretty, but I do have to contact the designer of that font. So those are a few reasons that I smiled this week in regards publishing and writing and self-publishing. As always, if you have any questions, even if it's not related to the translation or getting, your book in different markets, don't hesitate to send me an email or leave a voicemail or leave a comment. And I will be talking to you next week. Oh, don't forget that I have an Instagram, if you're interested. That's called A Self-Published Author's Diary. I also have a YouTube channel that I'm still populating right now with videos. And if you could subscribe, share this podcast with your friends, or what else could you do? If you could rate and review, that would be awesome and very helpful, and I would truly, truly appreciate it. So Play-Doh the dog is found another position, so now he's back to sleeping. The thunder is on and off outside, and I am about to finish the newsletter that I will be sending tomorrow, June 11th, to my readers. And happy writing if you're a writer, and to everyone, happy reading.